Hi, Somi.
Hi.
I'm Sylvia, and first of all, thank you for being here with us today and having accepted these interviews.
Thanks
We
for
have a
having
little ritual with all our guests,
Okay.
and I guess you being also a filmmaker, you're very familiar with it.
I'm sure.
Would you mind to give it a go?
Okay. All right. This is like my job all over again. So,
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Here we go. We just had the pleasure of hearing you at the opening of this conference. Would you be so nice to tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what you do in life?
Yeah, sure. I will be nice, yes, to tell you. Yes, so I'm a filmmaker. I started out as a filmmaker, but before that I studied political philosophy, philosophy of science, and the implications of science and philosophy for ethical and moral philosophy. So it was like I've always been very interested in the origins of things, the reasons behind why we do what we do. And today I have brought together my knowledge of a TV production. I was a TV producer for 5 years. Brought that together with the things that I had studied in the past, and created almost a whole new type of work for myself that wasn't there before. I'm now writing a book about the future of work. So you see, one of the things that I talk about a lot and what I'm writing about in my book is contextual creativity. Contextual creativity is like looking at the bigger picture and connecting the dots that were not there before.
Is there been anybody in your past or in your recent past that really drove you through these changes or approaching this new world? I mean, do you have any mentor or somebody who drives you?
Not really. Not really, no.
You're a self-made woman?
I think so, yes, I think so. I mean, I'm inspired by a lot of people. The kind of people that inspire me they're not alive anymore, like Nietzsche. I'm a Nietzschean, I studied Nietzsche. I think he would be probably the biggest impact on my thinking. In modern terms, I would say Ray Dalio and Gary Vaynerchuk. Opera, from the viewpoint of being a female from a diverse background, This is really funny. I have never said this before, so I've never said this in an interview or openly. But I kind of secretly imagine that Ray Dalio is my dad and Oprah is my mom. Wow. so they've adopted me. So that's kind of, because when I was a kid, I always wanted to be adopted, and I didn't have a very good childhood, when I was growing up. So I always felt like I wish I was adopted by somebody else. So I've kind of like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm adopted by these two people.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Maybe one day I will have them in the same room and say, hi mom, hi dad.
How do you see the future of humanity?
I'm very worried about it. Okay, so to a point that I can tell you, if there's something that keeps me awake at night and makes me want to wake up in the morning, is my concern for how artificial intelligence could potentially completely change the way that we are. And all of my work, all of the studies and the research that I do, it's all about trying to find a way to minimize the potential damages, and maximize the potential benefits of these technologies. Because I think that there are so many pitfalls, and unfortunately most of our governments aren't really looking into it. They are not really educated enough. Most of the people that are in decision-making positions are concerned with things that are trivial in comparison to the dangers of these types of new technologies that are not regulated, that people don't quite understand, how it's developing.
Well, as believers, actually believe means believe and believe in a better world.
Nice.
So should you have the magic wand, which is the one thing that you would change in this world to make it a better place?
I think I would make people kinder.
That's nice.
If you could do that, you know. And I would make myself kinder, you know. Like honestly, I wasn't born thinking this way. I've had to teach myself. You know, like empathy is something that you need to learn, because we are all
can exercise
selfish.
on that.
You know, if I could do one thing, I would like put
Be kind.
empathy into people, and unfortunately, it's not possible. It actually takes a lot of work to be empathetic. It's actually not easy.
You're definitely a very successful businesswoman. Is there one fragility that you would like to share with us?
Oh, I have so many of them. Like,
And if any, how do you overcome those?
I have so many fragilities or like weaknesses, if you want to think about it. I'd say that I have ADHD, so attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it makes life very difficult. You know, it's a mental health challenge, right? It makes life very difficult, but it also makes life very interesting. So the reason why I'm able to think the way that I do and connect the dots, and like the speed with which my mind, you know, operates, that's very interesting. That's the interesting part of it. But the downside is that I find it very hard to switch off. And I think that it's important to be able, this is probably the first time I've talked about this in an interview. I think it's important to be open about neurodiversity, because it's one of the things that when we talk about contextual creativity, we now need those kinds of thinking, you know, that kind of, we need to be able to empower people rather than asking everybody to be more normal, actually empower them to not be normal.
What's love for you? What does it mean? What stands for?
That's a difficult question. You know what? I've not been asked that question before. I think if you mean unconditional love, right?
Sure.
It's no different from empathy. You know, it's to me, love is being able to put yourself in other people's shoes and be able to feel, not necessarily feel, but understand what they feel, right? I guess it depends on whether you're thinking, in what context you're thinking. It's definitely a global and universal subject that, or emotion that transcends every language and every culture, and everybody has felt it to some degree. You know, whether it's for your family, whether it's for your partner or your pet, you know, we've all felt it, right? In some ways, I would say that empathy is more important than love, because sometimes when we think about love, especially the way that what we understand love in the society, the way that it's been portrayed, you know, it can be actually quite selfish. Whereas I think that empathy is bigger.
Thank you very much for spending this time
me.
with them. Thank you for your answer. Thank you for your transparency, and for having shared secret things
Yes.
that you never said to anybody before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.